What's up, guys? It's literally the gun. Is it recording right now? What's up, guys? This is DET and AFA here. We're making a beginner's guide to the gym, right?
Hell yeah.
We're just gonna talk about a couple of things like gym intimidation, anxiety, and setting your goal, finding your why. Why do you come to the gym?
I just like hurting myself. No,
Sadist.
I've always been an athlete, and then I just started doing some, career stuff where I got unhealthy, and it just got to the point where I couldn't go up the stairs without breaking a sweat and getting out of breath, and just decided to change my life from that point. So I wanted just to get healthier. I don't really want to become a bodybuilder or anything, just be healthier, be around longer, be able to do the things that I enjoy, hiking, playing soccer, stuff like that.
Love it. Also, I think we have to hold it a little bit closer.
Not sure.
I just wanted to pick up your beautiful voice.
Yeah.
There. What's your why?
Yeah, so I guess my why was I was always a nerd growing up through high school and whatnot. So it was definitely a search of masculinity for me. Trying to do something that was manly, I guess you could say, which isn't necessarily true. Lifting is for everyone, but it was a way for me to prove myself that I could do hard things, that I could overcome adversity. Because life is suffering.
Lastly, we want to talk about something called SMART goals, and I'm just gonna let you got a mic there. Cool. All right, hit it.
Yeah, so whenever you want to set a goal, most people use the SMART goal method, meaning specific, measurable, obtainable, realistic, or relatable, and time measurable. And that's a good place to start, but you really want to break it down and you want to think about your goal. Let's use the same analogy as the map. You're starting at your tavern, your goal is to slay the dragon, right? But like all D&D quests, you're going to have to travel through the mountain range, you're going to have to go through the mine, you're going to have to go through the dungeon, you're going to have to do all of these other steps to get there. So you want to pick a specific goal that makes sense. So I'll use myself for example. I want to build more muscle. That's not specific enough. So I'm going to make sure that I want to make a specific goal in mind for building muscle. I want to add 20 pounds of muscle on. Okay, how long is it going to take me? Well, it takes around 0.5 to 1 pound of muscle per week is a realistic goal. So it's going to take me 20 to 40 weeks for me to achieve that goal. So in 20 to 40 weeks, I'm going to build 20 pounds of muscle. But what am I going to really do? That's an objective goal I have set. So what am I really going to do that? Well, first, what am I going to do today? I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to follow the principles of lifting. I'm going to lift X amount of weight. I'm going to lift X amount of weight, X amount of times to achieve that goal. What else do I need to do? I need to make sure my nutrition's in check. So I'm going to eat X amount of grams of protein per day specific to me. What else am I going to do? I'm going to make sure I'm getting 6 to 9 hours of sleep every night. For me, 8 to 10 is usually what I like, what helps me. So you want to make sure that your specific steps that you're taking along the way are in check, because your big end goal is where you're looking towards, but you need to make sure the next 10 meters in front of you is also in check. Otherwise, you're just never going to achieve that goal. So just make sure your goal is specific, it's measurable, it's time obtainable, it's something that's also realistic and that you can achieve. And then make sure you break it down as far as you possibly can to exactly what you're going to do today to achieve that goal.
Fantastic. Yeah. Fantastic.
You said you have to go over the mountain, right? What if you have a testosterone dragon that lets you fly over that mountain to skip the first quest?
And then you got it's like the Eagles for Mordor. You can just jump on the Eagles and just go straight there.
now we are gonna get started. We're gonna go over 5 simple exercises to kind of get started in the gym. So here we go.
Okay, cool. So what we're gonna do first off is we're gonna give you 5 essential movements that you should do in any sort of program. That includes push, pull, hinge, squat, and core. So I'm gonna walk you through everything. Mitchell here is gonna demonstrate everything for us, and we'll go from there. The first exercise we're gonna start with is your squat. Now, this is not limited to just this squat, but we're gonna show you an exercise. We're gonna regress it and make it easier, then we're gonna progress it and make it harder for every movement. So first up, we got a goblet kettlebell squat. What you're gonna do is put your feet about shoulder width apart, and then you are going to take a deep breath in, and you're gonna imagine you're gonna get punched in the stomach, and you keep it nice and tight, and then keep that tension as you squat all the way down to the ground, keeping your back straight, chest up tall, and then you're gonna just stand on back up. Beautiful. So well done. Now let's say that's way too hard for you, okay? What we're gonna do is we're gonna set that kettlebell down and do the exact same thing with absolutely nothing in your hands. You're just gonna do a body weight squat. A good thing to focus on that really helps a lot of people is sticking your butt back. Imagine your car door needs to be shut right as you're about to sit down. So sit that butt back, which will help keep everything in alignment throughout your back here so you're not rounding too much. Our final progression of the squat, you're gonna go up to a barbell back squat. This is a more advanced lift. You're gonna need a lot more technique. So one thing you wanna make sure is if your goblet squat's looking good, there's a couple things you wanna look for. So Mitch, feel free to go down. So at the bottom, you can tell that his low back is nice and straight, nice and engaged. There's not a lot of butt wink. That's where the butt tucks under. His chest is nice and tall. He's not like falling over, and then he's comfortable in this movement. His knees aren't collapsing when he comes back up. So once those things are set, then you're good to progress into a barbell back squat, and then you're going to progressive overload. You're going to start adding more and more plates to this, and always safety first. Make sure your technique is solid before you start moving up. Okay, our second movement is going to be your hinging movement. So the most popular is your barbell deadlift. So what you're going to do is set up your feet right under the bar. So the bar should go right over your shoelaces. Next thing you're gonna do is take a nice deep breath and brace just like the squat. You wanna make sure that tight core, because that's what's gonna protect your back. Okay, and then you're gonna bend over grabbing the bar, and you're gonna make sure that bar is right next to your shins, if not touching your shins. You're gonna treat your arms like ropes with hooks. They're just dangling, holding on to that bar. Then the most important thing, that core is tight, that back is straight, and then we're gonna push the earth away. We're not gonna pull, okay? That's gonna help make sure the hamstrings and the glutes work, not your back. So as you pull up, that bar is gonna travel in a perfectly straight line, and you're gonna keep that bar right next to your body the whole time. It's called a hinging movement because you're hinging at the hips, not necessarily bending at the knees. Now there's gonna be some knee bend obviously for a better performance, but that's the main gist of your deadlift. It's a much more complicated movement, but in my opinion, it's one of the top 5 movements of all time. Okay, so let's say the barbell deadlift is too complicated for you to do. We're gonna regress to a kettlebell deadlift. So I'm gonna go over the basics just a little bit more. The most important thing is that we're keeping that tight core. So what you're gonna do is take a deep breath through your nose, and you're gonna brace for that punch, right? Be ready for that punch at all times, because that's what's gonna keep your back safe. Same principle applied. This kettlebell stays right between the middle of your feet, and what you're gonna do is imagine your arms are full, and you need to close your car door. You're gonna stick your ass out. That's gonna help you hinge over in the deadlift portion. See how he's going backwards? That kettlebell is staying straight up and down. And same thing, you push the earth away, you don't pull that kettlebell up. That lets the legs work and not the back. And that whole time he's keeping tension in his low back, he's keeping tension in his upper back, he's keeping tension in that core. Everything is tight. Okay, for our third movement, we're gonna do a pushing action. So we got the dumbbell bench press. Okay, so most of you are probably familiar with this exercise because every man wants a good chest. So Most important thing we're looking at here is elbow position and orientation to the shoulder. Generally speaking, you want maybe a little bit more than 45 degrees or closer. You want to avoid any overextension of the hyper of the elbow, because that's going to put a lot of pressure on your shoulder. So keeping those elbows at a 45-degree angle is a general good rule of thumb. You want to get as far down as you can to get a good deep stretch on that pec, and then you're going to just push straight up. Now, common mistakes we want to look for. The shoulder blades. A common thing, you want to make sure those shoulder blades are down and back as far as they can go, because that's going to also keep the shoulder in a good position. Common thing that happens is those shoulder blades round forward in the movement. We want to avoid that as much as possible. We also want to always maintain that full body tension, nice tight core. Your legs are engaged because they're pushing into the ground. That makes sure, because more full body tension, the better the movement goes. So we're going to regress this movement now. Say the dumbbell bench press is a little too hard. We can do some push-ups, okay? So same thing. Those principles are literally exactly the same. The one thing you're going to want to focus on, though, is a nice tight core. Don't let your butt go up too high or your low back drop too low. And then your same thing. Elbows at 45 degrees, shoulder blades down and back, and you're going to go as deep as you can, nice and slow and controlled. Say even this is too hard. What you can do is elevate your hands. Do it off of a box, off of a bench. Do it off of your knees, right? And then if that's too easy, you can elevate your feet, and that makes it even harder. Do weird little fun things. Orient your eyes right underneath that bar. You're gonna grab that bar, engage your back and your scapula. Pull that thing down and back, almost bend the bar in half. That'll engage your back nice and tight. You're gonna unrack the bar, and then you're gonna slow and control down right about to your nipples. If you notice, he has a lot of arch in his back. That's totally fine. One of the few exercises that's allowed. It'll honestly make your lift better if you do. Tight core, knees, legs are driving to the ground, engaging his quads and his glutes. Squeeze your butt cheeks too. One thing you never want to happen is you don't want your butt to come off of the bench. So squeezing your butt, keep that nice and tight. And then if you notice, the bar will travel in a slight arc, totally normal. That's where you want it to go. Okay, for our fourth movement, we're doing the pull-up, okay? So what you're gonna do is, you can have a machine like this, which is an assisted machine, which is gonna make it a lot easier. Pretty much anyone can do it. All you're gonna do is pick a weight, and it's gonna take the load off of you, and then you just stand on it and pull up. Big thing on the pull-up, you wanna go all the way down to full extension, relax your back, stretch the back out at the bottom, and then really pull those shoulder blades down and back. You see he has a big arch in his back, totally normal. And then the goal is to at least get your chin to the top of the bar. If you can't get up that high, maybe make the movement a little bit easier. And then what you're gonna do to progress the movement is go to body weight, or then you can even get a belt, add some weight to it. Now let's say that this movement's even too hard. You can get some sort of TRX machine and row. Okay, so the last one we got is our core exercises. The reason why core is so important is because if you don't have a weak core, you're gonna hurt yourself in everything else. So make sure you add core into your exercises. The best thing you can do are core stability exercises, like sit-ups and crunches, garbage. Anyway, besides the point. So we're gonna do a plank, one of the best core stability. You're gonna keep that core nice and tight. You're gonna keep your back perfectly straight. And then you're going to squeeze your butt cheeks. And then what you want to imagine is taking your tailbone and tucking it under, right? Like you're gonna crunch up in that position. That's gonna really activate the core, because what we want is a flat back. We don't want an arch here. We wanna avoid that. You can do it from the elbows, or you can do it from your hands. And then another good way to really activate it is if you're on your elbows or hands, you're squeezing the elbows down towards your toes, and you're squeezing your toes up towards your elbows. That will make sure the core is nice and tight. As you can see, he's shaking. It sucks. It's hard. It should be.